Guys, this is the next part, hope you will enjoy it. Let's begin. 5 months had passed since the Battle of Bloody Rivers had been fought, and the survivors of the aforementioned battle had just arrived back at the Hidden Leaf Village about an hour earlier. 2 men were sitting in an office with a single desk between them. One man looked to be in his 60s, though he could not have been any older than 50. The other man was nearly 20 years younger. The names of the 2 men were Hiruzen Sarutobi and Sakumo Hatake. Removing the pipe from his mouth, Sarutobi looked into the younger man's eyes. "Tell me, Sakumo, how did it happen?" Sakumo took a deep breath. "You want to know about the Battle of Blood Rivers?" There was no question in Sakumo's words. "Yes, I do," Sarutobi replied simply. "Your written report seemed far-fetched." "It wasn't," Sakumo said firmly. "The Chunin level sensors that were sent to aid us were incapable of seeing past a rather high-ranking genjutsu. Only someone of my skill was able to see through it. It was because of that we were unprepared for the assault by 1,000 Sand Ninja." "Surely you overestimate," Sarutobi said with narrowed eyes. "You wouldn't be sitting here before me if 1,000 Sand Ninja attacked you." The heir of the Yamanaka clan was certain that the count was more than 900 but less than 1,200. "I'm sure that his count was accurate," Sakumo said dryly. "I came up with a plan quickly. The plans that we had prepared fell through because of their swapped strategies and larger than expected forces. One of my special Jonin added onto the plan by sending some wind-style shadow clones to assault their forces." Sarutobi raised an eyebrow at that explanation. He knew that Sakumo only had one special Jonin stationed to his camp. That attack actually took out about 1/10 of their forces, so we switched to using long-ranged ninjutsu while they recovered and continued to charge, Sakumo continued, unfazed. "We quickly engaged them in a free-for-all type of battle. I lost focus on most of my men at that point, but I did see something interesting." Sarutobi leaned forward in interest. "Naruto Uzumaki put himself between a barrage of poison needles and Kushina Uzumaki," Sakumo said, looking the older man in the eyes. "I learned 3 things when that happened." Sarutobi looked surprised for a second, but he was a master of keeping his calm. "What did you learn?" "First off, I learned that Naruto is a true leaf shinobi and would gladly put his life at risk to aid a comrade," Sakumo said. His eyes narrowed and his voice became dangerous as he continued. "Secondly, I learned that Kushina Uzumaki is a Jinchuriki. The 9 tails is the only possible tailed beast she can contain too. That reminds me, why in the hell did you not tell me that a Jinchuriki was in my fucking army?" "Sakumo, you weren't supposed to find out," Sarutobi said as he leaned back in his chair. "No one was supposed to know." Sakumo's eyes still held coldness to them as he spoke again. "The third thing that I learned is that Naruto Uzumaki is an army killer." Sarutobi's eyes widened at that proclamation. An army killer was a term used by the top brass of the village. It described an individual like Hashirama Senju, Tobirama Senju, Hiruzen Sarutobi, and the Sannin. Alone, they could deal with an entire army. It made them invaluable. Naruto told me that he used the wind-style, wind dragon jutsu at 1% of its true power in training. Apparently, he did not want to destroy the training grounds, Sakumo said with a small laugh. He used it at 100% of its true power during the Battle of Bloody Rivers. "Did you hear the reason they called that battle by that name?" "It's because his jutsu stained the ground with the enemy's blood. When we left, the ground still had a red tint to it." Sarutobi frowned at that. He had seen the jutsu when Naruto had practiced it. To know that it was so seriously underpowered, that was worrisome indeed. Naruto suffered from chakra exhaustion after killing well over 300 Sand Shinobi from it. The very large dose of poison that he was hit with only helped incapacitate him, Sakumo said as he folded his hands on the desk before him. "There is no doubt about it. He is a true army killer. I forbid him from using the jutsu at full power again until it is perfected though. His body was injured as a result of the massive amount of chakra that was released from his body so quickly." "That's good," Sarutobi said as he opened a folder on his desk. "It seems that your report was completely accurate after all, which makes things complicated." "Don't have him watched again," Sakumo said seriously, surprising Sarutobi again. "He is loyal. I'll vouch for him. Hell, I'll keep an eye on him if you want me to. I do not want him to be the subject of ANBU watchers again though. That will only make him suspicious of you." Sarutobi slowly nodded. "Very well then, if he betrays us, it is on you." "He won't," Sakumo said with a small smile. Minato Namikaze entered the chain-link gate that stood before the third training ground. His sandals left low cracking sounds as he walked upon the dry ground. His eyes were trained on the blonde in the center of the training ground. Naruto seemed to have his eyes shut, and chakra was slowly leaking out of his body, enveloping him. Suddenly, the chakra stopped and began to flow to his right hand. After several moments, dense, blue chakra covered his right hand in a shroud. And then, the chakra dissipated. "Shit, why can't I pull it off?" Naruto asked aloud. "Think fast," Minato called out. Naruto turned just in time to see a water balloon flying at him. It was clear that Minato had thrown it at him. With that in mind, Naruto caught the balloon with both hands, careful not to pop it in the process. "What are you doing here?" Naruto asked curiously. "I thought you'd be within your girlfriend." Minato chuckled in response. "You, my friend, are ridiculous. My girlfriend is, wait for it, a girl. And girls like to go shopping when they've been away for a while. Thus, Kushina and Mikoto are occupied." He folded his arms in front of him as he looked at Naruto with his usual smile. "And we, being the guys that we are, must do what is habitual as well." "Training," Naruto said with a grin of his own. "Training," Minato agreed as he unfolded his arms and removed another water balloon from a seal at his hip. "I'm going to teach you to use my most prized creation, the Rasengan." Naruto's eyes widened considerably at that. He had considered the possibility, but he had dismissed it all the same. "Are you serious?" Naruto asked. "Quite," Minato replied. "Jiraiya-sensei mastered the jutsu the day that Lord Hokage declared war. It's only fair that I offer the jutsu to my best friend now that my teacher has learned it." "Why didn't you offer it sooner then?" Naruto asked with a light-hearted laugh. "We had responsibilities in the land of rivers. That's why no one trained why they were there," Minato explained. "Besides, I doubt you'll master it anytime soon." Naruto rolled his eyes at the last part. Now, the Rasengan is a three-part jutsu. The first part is rotation. This step is mastered by popping a water balloon with chakra, Minato explained. "Pop!" Minato's eyes widened as the water balloon in Naruto's hand suddenly exploded, spraying water all around him. The older blonde's face and shirt were wet. The older blonde suddenly cocked his head sideways with a smirk plastered to his face. "You, my friend, are being ridiculous," Naruto said, quoting his friend's earlier words. Minato rolled his eyes, though he was secretly impressed. Things will be interesting, it seems, Minato thought as he prepared to start Naruto on the next step. Naruto's eyes immediately opened as the sound of footsteps approached his tent. As he rubbed his eyes, he wondered what exactly was going on. He knew it to be no earlier than midnight and no later than 3 in the morning, which made his mind dart from possibility to possibility. A year and a week had passed since Naruto arrived in the land of rivers under Sakumo Hatage's command. As such, he was once again deployed, but this time, he was under new leadership. A week earlier, Naruto had left the village alongside Minato to serve at the main camp in the land of rain under Jiraiya of the Sannin. It had not been easy to reach the camp though. The shinobi of the hidden rain village were known for 3 things. The first was for creating their own jutsu. The second was for assassination techniques. And the third was for genjutsu. Those 3 things combined had enabled the hidden rain ninja to ambush the group that Naruto and Minato had been traveling with. After fighting through the ambush, they had managed to arrive at the camp hours before it was assaulted by 200 rain ninja. Naruto still shuddered at the thought of the battle with the rain ninja. 200 rain ninja were harder to take down than 1,000 sand ninja, it seemed. That was mainly because they did not have the power to directly assault the camp. Instead, they had used genjutsu and employed guerrilla warfare. As those thoughts crossed his mind, he slid to a sitting position on the standard-issued cot in his small, forest green tent. His feet found their way into his sandals, and he was standing up moments later, just in time to look completely alert as someone entered the tent. "General Hatage?" Naruto asked in shock as Sakumo Hatage entered his tent. The man was supposed to be in the land of rivers again, which made his presence completely unexpected for Naruto. "I'm not a general right now," Sakumo said with a ghost of a smile upon his face. "Please call me Sakumo. If you must give me a title, make it captain." "What's going on, Captain Sakumo?" Naruto asked, earning a small frown from the man. "I've been relieved of duty as the general in the land of rivers." A veteran from the First Shinobi World War, a man named Torifu Akimichi, has taken that post while I've been assigned a mission, Sakumo said with the utmost seriousness conveyed in his tone. It's an infiltration mission in enemy territory. Surely that's a classified mission, Naruto said with narrowed eyes. Why are you telling me about it? I was told that I can bring any 3 subordinates that I want on the mission, and you're one of them, Sakumo said, looking Naruto in the eyes. I'd feel a lot better about the mission if you'd agree. When do we leave? Naruto asked immediately. Sakumo grinned. That's good to hear. Get your equipment together. I'll be waiting on you outside of your tent. We'll meet up with my other subordinates on the way there. Later, 5 miles northwest of the camp, Sakumo and Naruto were crouched in a circle with Shibi Aburame and Tsume Inuzuka. Sakumo had a map in his hands. Our mission is simple. We need to travel 20 miles to a key fortress, Sakumo said with the utmost seriousness conveyed in his voice. This fortress contains supplies for the armies of the Hidden Rain village. If we destroy this fortress, they will have difficulty obtaining rations and basic ninja tools. It's heavily guarded, Naruto said as he listened carefully. No one would be willing to leave such a key base without a few hundred guards. Sakumo nodded. That's why we've been chosen for this mission, he explained. Ideally, we would sneak in without any confrontations and plant paper bombs in key points. You brought me because of that jutsu, Naruto said immediately. Sakumo nodded, making Shibi and Tsume widen their eyes. They had been at the Battle of Bloody Rivers, after all. I hope you don't need to use the Wind Dragon Jutsu, but it might be necessary, Sakumo said with a sigh. It's actually called the Great Wind Dragon Jutsu now, Naruto said with a ghost of a smile upon his face. It's too powerful to be equated with the Water Dragon Jutsu or the Earth Dragon Jutsu, so I've changed its name. It's registered as an S-rank kinjutsu by Lord Hokage, after all. Sakumo did not respond to that. He merely shrugged and traced a red line on the map with his finger. This is the path that we'll take. We'll all need to be careful though. We're getting closer to the Hidden Rain village than we should. The fact that we've been divided into such small numbers should be an indicator of how much caution we must use, he said as he looked at his subordinates. Do you understand? Yes, Captain Hatake, Shibi said. Yes, Captain Sakumo, Tsume said. Yes, Sakumo, Naruto said. Good, Sakumo said as he folded his map. Let's head out. About 10 miles into their trip, Tsume raised a hand to halt them. They were in a small clearing that was located in one of the densest forests in the Land of Rain. It was naturally raining, of course. It always did in the Land of Rain, it seemed. Captain, I smell someone, Tsume said cautiously. It's a fresh smell. I think an enemy is nearby. Are you sure? Sakumo asked carefully. Tsume spared Sakumo a glance. I'm positive. It would be easier if Kuromaru was here to help me out, but he's back home recovering. Naruto quickly grabbed the hilt of Sakumo's tanto, withdrew it, and parried a barrage of kunai that came at him from behind. The sheer speed of Naruto movement and the fact that he managed such a maneuver left-handed surprised all 3 Jonin. They knew him to be right-handed. Naruto quickly handed the sword to Sakumo hilt first as he withdrew a kunai from his holster with his right hand. As soon as Sakumo took his sword back, Naruto took a second kunai into his left hand. Captain, Tsume is asleep, Shibi suddenly said. Naruto glanced towards the Aburame and saw that he was holding a limp Tsume Inuzuka. Genjutsu, Naruto said immediately. Seeing the slight confusion on Sakumo's face, Naruto added, Shinobi of the Inuzuka clan are too heavily ruled by their senses. They're weak to genjutsu. I know that, Sakumo said as he took survey of his surroundings. I'm just surprised that you knew that. 3 dragons made of water suddenly formed, using the rain as a source. They came at the Leaf Shinobi with incredible speed and power. Naruto normally would have used his wind wall to defend against them, but it was a flat wall of wind. It would have only effectively defended against one. Instead, he used the body flicker technique and appeared outside of the range of the attacks. He had to have faith that his comrades could do the same. Sakumo managed it. Shibi and Tsume did not. Naruto's eyes widened as he saw the bug user and the unconscious Inuzuka get sent flying by the force of the jutsu. As soon as he saw it, water formed around him. This is the water prison jutsu, Naruto thought, mentally cursing the situation. From his spot, he could see that Sakumo had been caught by one too. 3 rain ninja appeared in front of them in their normal garb. The middle one had an aura of authority and arrogance that Naruto could detect immediately. The white fang and a piece of trash, both caught in those jutsu, he said mockingly. Keep them in their prisons until they suffocate. After that, you can bring their corpses to the rendezvous point. With that, he commanded his 2 unoccupied associates to grab the unconscious Aburame and Inuzuka and follow him. Once they were gone, Naruto closed his eyes. He idly noted that it was the most he could do in the prison. I can trust Sakumo, Naruto thought as he used the water prison to his advantage. His eyes suddenly snapped open. They no longer held blue irises. His irises had turned yellow, his pupils had become square, and red pigmentation surrounded the far corners of his eyes. Naruto physically turned his head and looked at the rain ninja that was holding up his water prison. The blonde shot his hand out of the prison as quick as lightning and clutched the rain ninja's throat in his left hand. A single twist of his wrist broke the rain ninja's neck before the water prison dropped or the rain ninja even reacted. Naruto dashed towards the rain ninja holding Sakumo's water prison intact and slammed his fist into the man's chest. With the strength that Sage Mode gave him, he caved the man's chest in. Sakumo breathed heavily as the water prison was released. Looking up at his savior, Sakumo asked the one question that was most expected of him. You're a sage like Jiraiya, aren't you? Naruto shook his head. I've mastered this form, he hasn't. Sakumo nodded his head, not really caring about the answer. We need to save Shibi and Tsume. No, Naruto said, looking his captain in the eyes. You need to save them. I need to finish the mission. Sakumo looked shocked at the proposal. We need to work together. I can tell you where they're at, but I don't think they'll be in any condition to move quickly at all. This mission needs to be done though, Naruto said with a heavy sigh. He suspected that this was the mission. If at all possible, he'd prevent the man from being disgraced. I believe that you can take them out on your own. There are only 3 of them. And as it turns out, I'm the perfect person to take out the fortress up ahead on my own. As much as Sakumo hated the idea of splitting up, he knew that it made sense. You'll probably be reprimanded for letting the mistrusted special Jonin do the mission solo, so prepare to catch hell, Naruto said with a forced smile. I'll catch hell, and I'll throw it back, Sakumo promised. Naruto allowed a small but real smile to appear on his face. About my Sage Mode. It's a secret that I'll keep until the day that I die, Sakumo vowed as he sheathed his tanto. Thanks for that, Naruto said as he closed his eyes and drew some more natural energy in. He did not want his form to dissipate after all. They are already 5 miles east from here. They must have been in a hurry. I'll keep an eye on their tracks. I'm good at tracking, Sakumo said as he took off running. Naruto nodded and sped into the direction of the fortress with all the speed that he could muster, which was rather impressive as a result of Sage Mode. It took an hour for Naruto to reach the edge of the forest, a quarter of a mile away from the fortress, though that was because he had taken his time. Going too fast would have needlessly exhausted him. The fortress was clearly made of stone and appeared to be solidly built. It had no less than 10 floors in it, or more if it had floors extending underground. I'll have less than 5 minutes to pull this off, Naruto thought as he took a deep breath and began to draw natural energy in once again. I'm going to be exhausted afterwards, but oh well. As soon as he was in Sage Mode, fully charged, again, Naruto used the body flicker technique to cover half of the distance to the fortress. The instant that he reappeared, he raised his right arm outward. Chakra surged through it with the force of a river. The same thing happened to his left arm when he did the same with it. He then brought them together in the dog hand sign, beginning a long chain of hand signs that moved so fast that only a Sharingan wielder could have counted them all. The jutsu now used 100 hand signs in rapid succession. In addition to that, the jutsu had been redone in ways that most people were unaware of. The sequence ended with both hands clapped together as if Naruto was praying. He was covered in a powerful shroud of chakra by the time, seeing as how more and more chakra leaked out with each hand sign. Naruto noticed that the rain ninja guarding the fortress were not attacking him at all. It seemed that they were going to attempt to be defensive. Foolish, Naruto thought as he released the chakra into his jutsu. The sight that the rain ninja were presented with instilled fear. The funnel of wind that formed around Naruto was as wide as a tornado, and it filled the entire clearing on Naruto's side of the fortress. In short, the dragon that was formed as a result was larger than Manda, and it was not constrained by gravity. Naruto was no longer in sage mode at this point. He had poured 75% of his chakra into the jutsu, and it had been amplified by the natural energy flowing within it. Sage art, Great Wind Dragon Jutsu, Naruto said hoarsely. There would be no survivors from the sheer devastation that the dragon caused as it crashed into the fortress. The fortress would be nothing more than gravel when it was done with it. 6 hours later, Naruto walked into a cave where he had sensed that Sakumo was located at. He immediately saw Tsume and Shibi asleep. "Is it done?" Sakumo asked quietly. "It's done," Naruto said as he sat down against the cave wall. In moments, he was asleep. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village, was sitting in his office a few weeks into the second year of the Third Shinobi War. He idly looked at the clock, curious as to when he would be receiving visitors. A week earlier, he had given Sakumo Hatake a mission to infiltrate and destroy a key fortress in the Land of Rain. 2 days earlier, Sakumo had sent a message via Hawk to inform him that the mission was a success and that they would arrive 2 days after the Hawk was sent to give the mission report. He had also made it clear that 2 of his comrades for the mission were injured. A knock came to his door, breaking him from his musings. "Come in," Sarutobi said as he straightened himself in his chair. Sakumo Hatake walked into the office, followed by Naruto Uzumaki. "Your companions are already at the hospital, I take it?" Sarutobi asked, looking at Naruto. "Yes, they are," Naruto replied calmly. He was finally getting used to the old Hokage. Tsume Inuzuka has a broken leg, whereas Shibi Aburame is dealing with a mild case of poisoning and a broken arm, Sakumo elaborated as Naruto shut the door. "Sit down and tell me what happened," Sarutobi said as he gestured to the 2 chairs that he had set up on the other side of his desk. "About 10 miles into our trip, Tsume detected enemies, though it was just in time for Special Jonin Uzumaki to deal with a barrage of kunai that were thrown at him. During the attack, it seems that a genjutsu specialist utilized a particularly effective technique against Tsume, incapacitating her," Sakumo said as he took his seat. Immediately after she was incapacitated, 3 shinobi used the water-style, water dragon jutsu against us. Naruto and I managed to evade it using the body flicker technique, but Shibi and Tsume did not. As Naruto took his seat, he said, "As soon as I saw that Shibi was unable to get away with Tsume, water formed around me. I immediately knew that it was the water prison jutsu. Captain Sakumo was caught by the technique as well. 3 more rain shinobi appeared before us, and they taunted us before giving orders to the shinobi that captured us to let us drown. Once we were dead, they were to take back our corpses," Sakumo said as he folded his hands in his lap. The 3 rain shinobi left immediately, and they took Tsume and Shibi away. It was their intention to interrogate them. Once they left, Naruto managed to get free from his water prison and freed me from mine." "How did he free you?" Sarutobi asked. "He killed the ninja holding up my prison." "How else would he free me?" Sakumo asked rhetorically, making Sarutobi nearly face-palm. "How did he free himself then?" Sarutobi asked with a sigh. "Did you know that you can't move your head in a water prison?" Sakumo asked sarcastically. "Maybe you should ask the person you're talking about." Sarutobi knew that Sakumo was rarely blatantly disrespectful to his superiors. It generally meant that he was very annoyed, which was understandable since Sarutobi had just asked the man about someone that he respected greatly. "Okay," Sarutobi said as he looked at Naruto. "How did you get free from your water prison?" "I have a lot of chakra," Naruto said dryly. Sarutobi had a feeling that Naruto was hiding something, but he could tell that he had not been lied to. Stop being so paranoid, Sarutobi thought. Why does it matter how he broke free from it? It's not exactly an unheard of feat. Many members of the Hyuga clan have managed it, for one. "Continue," Sarutobi said as he looked at Sakumo. "Once the shinobi that captured us were dead, Naruto and I came to an agreement. Being the more proficient tracker that I am, I tracked down the other rain shinobi and took them out before I brought Shibi and Tsume to safety." "Naruto destroyed the base," Sakumo said, preparing for the Hokage's reaction. "You did what?" Sarutobi asked as he slammed his hands down on the desk. "Sakumo, you knew how important that mission was. How could you entrust that mission to a mere special Jonin?" "He's only a special Jonin because you have to stroke the ego of the goddamn clans and the elders of the village," Sakumo answered as he slammed his hand down on the desk and looked into the god of shinobi's eyes. "Naruto is the only one who could have single-handedly accomplished the mission, and I was not about to abandon my comrades." Sarutobi let out a deep sigh as he broke eye contact with Sakumo. Sakumo, I don't disagree with your actions. Hell, I applaud them. The mission was a success, and there were no fatalities. I overreacted, but I will still have to reprimand you for this. You violated the acceptable code of conduct as a captain of a squad on an S-ranked mission by putting the success of the mission solely upon the shoulders of a special Jonin. Feel free to suspend me, Sakumo said uncaring. You're suspended until your next scheduled deployment then, Sarutobi said with one more sigh, noting that Sakumo was pleased. He then turned to Naruto. And as for you, you went above and beyond the duties of your post. It seems I have no choice, in response to the recommendations of 2 of the generals of this war and your accomplishments in the most recent mission, I promote you to the full rank of Jonin. Naruto's eyes widened considerably at that, as did Sakumo's. Neither of them had expected that. Don't look so shocked, Sarutobi said as he looked between them. Yes, Naruto, I don't trust you. I doubt I'll ever be able to trust you completely. I trust you enough to allow you to become a Jonin in my village without forcing you to tell me where you really came from though. That should be enough. Thank you, Lord Hokage, Naruto said as he lowered his head into an awkward bow. Bowing while sitting down was always awkward though. Sarutobi nodded. I trust that you will uphold the responsibilities of your post. Do you need to ask? Naruto countered. I suppose not, Sarutobi said with a slight inclination of his head. Very well then, you 2 are dismissed. It seems that neither of you will actually be required to do anything until your next deployment. With that, Naruto and Sakumo left the office. Each one had something different in mind for the rest of the day. Sakumo had every intention of finding his son and telling him that he'd get to stick around for a while, which meant father-son bonding. Naruto had every intention of heading to the hospital to check on his comrades. Naruto had spent about half an hour at the hospital before he returned to his apartment. The doctors had told them that they would both be fine, but they had been asleep when he stopped by. Apparently, they had been rather exhausted. As soon as Naruto arrived at his apartment and shut the door, he felt his cheeks become damp. Raising his right hand to his right cheek, he realized that he was crying. It isn't pain that I feel, Naruto thought with a small smile. Naruto had been 16 when he was sent backwards in time as a result of his conflict with Madara, which meant that he had been in the past for 2 years. 2 long years of holding a tighter rein on his emotions and hiding the truth of who he was had changed him. I guess I didn't change completely, Naruto thought as he was overwhelmed by emotion. He had finally received a little more trust by the Hokage, he was fully trusted by Sakumo Hatake, his father was his best friend, and he had finally obtained the rank of Jonin. That was enough to overwhelm a man, he decided. I still have more to do though, Naruto thought as he straightened and wiped the tears from his eyes. Madara's still out there, but I can't worry about him until this war is over. I guess I'll just have to train like hell until then. He took note of his sore muscles at that moment. I better put that off until tomorrow though. Tonight, I'll celebrate my promotion. Shame Dad's not here. With that thought, he went to take a shower and get ready for the coming night. A few hours after Naruto's shower, he entered his favorite place in the world, the Ichiraku ramen stand. As he entered, he smiled wryly as he spotted Teuchi. The ramen chef was only a few years older than him in the present timeline. The image of a brown-haired girl flashed in Naruto's mind at that point, reminding Naruto of the man's daughter from his timeline. This always happens, Naruto thought in annoyance. The one thing that prevented him from actually befriending many of his comrades was his memories of them and their children from his timeline. It was why he tried to be distant to most people. Naruto definitely could not stand the temptation to be close to Minato Namake's, despite that. Maybe it helps that I only met the man once before waking up in the past, Naruto thought as he took a seat. Clearing his throat, he said, I'll take 1 large bowl of miso ramen with roasted pork fillet. Put it on my tab, and I'll take 1 too. Naruto froze at the voice. Looking over his shoulder, he saw Mikoto Uchiha entering the ramen stand. Seeing that the situation appeared to be personal, Teuchi ducked into the back to make them their ramen. Why would you want to buy me ramen? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Mikoto waited until she took the seat next to him before she answered. I heard that you received a promotion to Jonin. Congratulations, she said as she looked him in the eyes. I know your favorite food is ramen, so I figured you'd show up here sooner or later. Minato told Kushina, and Kushina doesn't keep secrets very well. What's your real reason? Naruto asked skeptically. Mikoto sighed at that. You rejected my last apology because I was not sincere. I only offered it to you because it was expected of me, she said, not breaking eye contact even for a second. I now offer it to you sincerely. I truly am sorry for the way I treated you originally. It wasn't right for me to treat you that way. Though his expression softened a bit, the skeptical look remained in his eyes. What caused the change in heart? Mikoto looked sad as she thought back. The resentment and distrust that I felt towards you were caused by what Kushina said about you. Do you seriously think I would change my opinion about you the same day that Kushina did? It was her life that you saved. Though that did change my opinion about you a little, it wasn't enough, she explained with a sad smile. I've spent a great deal of time talking to Minato, Inoichi, Shikaku, and Choza. I've also spoken with Lord Jiraiya and General Hatake. They've shown me a different side of you, a side I'd like to see for myself. Though the thought of choosing to reject the apology that was offered to him had crossed his mind, Naruto suppressed that juvenile urge. When it came right down to it, Naruto realized that it would be in his best interests to accept her apology. He came to the realization that the only people presently in the village that he was on good terms with were Sakumo and Tucci. He supposed that he could have made a decision to bond more with Tsume and Shibi, but something stopped Naruto from making such a decision. He could see Sasuke in Mikoto. It was from her that he obtained his looks. Naruto had known all along that the woman before him was the mother of Sasuke-Uchiha and the wife of Fugaku-Uchiha. Not yet though, Naruto thought idly. From what Minato had told him, Fugaku and Mikoto were just friends. That certainly could not have changed recently either. After all, Mikoto had opted to serve to consecutive deployments, whereas Fugaku had not. Thus, they had not seen each other in a little over 6 months. The final thing that factored into his thought process was that he did not want to wait over 5 months for a friend to return to the village. The prospect of making a new friend was rather appealing anyways. I accept your apology, Naruto said as he looked forward. It was easy to see that Mikoto was surprised by the look on her face that was barely visible out of the corner of Naruto's eye. If you're going to treat me to ramen, I have to pay you back though, Naruto said idly. How about we train together tomorrow? Mikoto's eyes widened at that suggestion. Aren't you worried that I'll copy your jutsu? Mikoto asked. That was one reason that most people preferred not to train with members of the Uchiha clan. Naruto snorted at that suggestion. I wouldn't recommend copying my jutsu. I highly doubt that you have enough chakra to use any of my good ninjutsu effectively. Mikoto looked as if she was slapped by that comment. I'm an Uchiha. We don't typically have a small amount of chakra. Be that as it may, I have more chakra than the Sannin combined, Naruto said seriously. I'm not boasting when I say that my jutsu are too chakra intensive for you to use. I'm being completely honest. Mikoto looked shocked by the notion of anyone having as much chakra as Naruto was indicating, but she did not believe that he was lying. Just who are you, Naruto Uzumaki? Mikoto wondered as Tucci brought their ramen. Years later, when Naruto and Mikoto looked back, they would think of that day as the day that their friendship began, though it was slow at the start. Approximately 11 months had passed since Naruto became a Jonin of the Hidden Leaf Village, which meant that he was on his 3rd deployment of the war. Much like the last 2 times, Naruto was traveling alongside Minato Namikaze through the forests of the Land of Grass, which were relatively large and often sported massive mushrooms. Unlike the last 2 times, Naruto and Minato were headed to a relatively minor camp. Naruto still could not wrap his mind around the concept of being stationed in one of the minor camps. It was fairly common knowledge that they rarely saw combat. And though Naruto did not cherish the thought of another bloody battle, he did know that his abilities made him very useful in such a battle. He inwardly sighed as he and Minato arrived at the camp, which was a fourth of the size of the previous camps that they had been stationed at. It also had a 3-foot-tall wall surrounding it, which would have been purely ineffective against shinobi. Come on, Minato said, seeing Naruto's slight hesitation as the camp came into view. The captain's no doubt waiting on us. A loud explosion suddenly rocked the entire camp, along with the ground around it. What in the hell was that? Naruto asked as he took off running towards the source of the explosion, which had come from within the camp. He did not need to look behind him to see that Minato was following after him closely. Possibilities of what could have happened ran through their minds as they ran through the walkway between the tents, but none of their thoughts prepared them for what they saw when they actually reached the center of the camp. The tent that should have been there for the captain of the camp was gone. Where it should have been, the ground was covered in ashes. What in the hell happened here? Naruto asked as he crouched down. It looks like we've been attacked. Naruto glanced over his shoulder and saw Yoshino Nora in Naruto's time lying on the ground. She was slowly rising, and it was clear that she was the one that had spoken. Did you see anything? Naruto asked quickly. Yeah, Yoshino said as she finished rising to her feet. I was chosen as the captain's assistant, and I was just bringing some papers to him when his tent exploded. The two other Jonin were inside it at the time. Like them, I'd be dead if I had actually managed to enter the tent when the explosion occurred. Shit, Minato said as his fists clenched. The fact that Minato had said such a word surprised Naruto and Yoshino. Naruto, we're the only two Jonin in this army. Naruto sighed at that statement. That was a very bad thing. Two Jonin would be ineffective against an army. Several smaller explosions were heard to the far right side of the camp. Minato, go help them out over there, Naruto said as he pointed towards the source of the explosions. Yoshino, go gather the men of the rest of the camp and bring them here. It looks like I'm the captain now. Though both were surprised by Naruto's words, but they complied without question. As soon as they were gone, Naruto removed a kunai and began to draw a few things in the dirt directly in front of him. 5 minutes later, Naruto was standing before 30 Chunin with Minato at his right. Minato, you told me you mastered the jutsu you've been working on. Are you sure? Naruto asked as he looked at Minato carefully. In reply, Minato removed an unusual-looking kunai that actually had 3 blades on it, though 2 of them were much shorter than the main blade. I'm sure that I've mastered it. Naruto nodded. Very well then, he said as he allowed a small smile to form. We're going to split up into 2 groups because we will be attacked from 2 sides. Minato, these Chunin will be under your command. I will be doing what I need to do solo. What in the hell are you talking about? Minato asked in shock. You will need their help, Naruto said as he turned his back to them. I'd hate for anyone to get killed by being too close to me when I get serious. With that, Naruto left. Minato immediately saw the drawing on the ground and took note of what it was of. He turned back to the Chunin and said, my friend has studied the strategies of sand and rock thoroughly. He's right when he said that they would assault us on 2 fronts. I can only assume that he knows what he's doing. He quickly removed a scroll from his hip pouch and unrolled it on the ground before him. 30 seals were shown on it immediately. With a single hand sign, he unsealed 30 scrolls from it. Come and get on scroll each. Inside of each scroll, I have sealed away 10 kunai like the one I'm holding. If you throw these kunai at the enemy, I'll be able to finish them off, Minato said as he took in a deep breath. Are you sure that that is wise, Captain Namikaze? Yoshino asked. No man can take out an army by himself. Then I am no man, Minato replied simply. With a last gesture to the scrolls on the ground, he said, you have your orders. When you have complied, follow me. No one could have predicted that the battle that would be fought shortly after that moment would be the battle in which 2 legends were born. As soon as Naruto was away from the others, he stopped for a moment and entered Sage mode with less than a minute of preparation. Before he had been sent back in time, such a thing was even easier, but now it was something that just barely stood in the realm of his ability. They haven't changed locations yet. That's good, Naruto thought as he felt the chakra signatures of his comrades going to confront the bulk of the rock ninja, just as his drawing on the ground would have told Minato to do so. It's a good thing he's so damned observant. Naruto quickly sped towards the second, smaller group of rock ninja. Smaller, that's a good one, Naruto thought as he rolled his eyes. The smaller group consisted of 50 rock ninja. The larger group consisted of 75. Either way, they were both fairly large. How should I take them out? The Great Wind Dragon is too damn destructive to use here, and I can't risk having someone survive. It does have weaknesses that I can't have anyone discover. It is one of my most powerful jutsu, after all. It did not take Naruto long to reach the rock ninja that were hiding in the nearby woods. The strategy that the rock ninja were using was very simple. A large attacking force would strike the camp and continue assaulting it until the leaf ninja were forced to flee. As they fled, the smaller force of rock would use earth jutsu to sink the ground in around the leaf ninja. Such a jutsu would crush the leaf ninja quite efficiently. That strategy is old, just like their Kage, Naruto thought idly. As Naruto appeared directly in front of the woods, he quickly formed the bird hand sign, drew in a deep breath. Sage Art, Dust Storm Jutsu, Naruto thought as he exhaled a very large, widespread cloud of wind chakra-laced dust from his mouth. The effect was instantaneous. His presence was obscured while his enemies remained within his senses. After all, he was still in sage mode. Quickly extending his hands, he thought, dance of wind blades. With a single wave of his hands, he released 10 blades of wind, one from each finger. Though his aim was not perfect, it easily cut down a good portion of the woods around them. He immediately went through a few hand signs immediately afterwards and said, "Wind style, Wind Dragon Jutsu." Unlike the Great Wind Dragon Jutsu, the version that he used was on a much smaller scale and had more of a pressure damage effect, as opposed to the larger version's cutting effect. The dragon sped through the dust cloud, using Naruto sensory abilities to find each rock ninja and overwhelm them. A single one of the rock ninja had begun to flee even before the trees were cut down around them. That was the only ninja that Naruto had allowed to flee. It was time for Naruto to stop hiding behind anonymity. A witness that had seen displays of wind jutsu alone would do him well, after all. "Are you sure about this?" Yoshino asked as she looked at Minato. 10 of the blonde special kunai was lying on the ground before her. "Yeah, I'm sure," Minato said reassuringly as he carefully stabbed 8 of his kunai in the ground around of him and held one in each hand. Once everything was prepared, Minato said, "They have started their charge." He spoke truthfully. It was at that moment that all of the rock ninja began to charge towards them. The distance between them was only 100 yards when Minato said, "Throw the kunai now." Aim them at about 50 yards. As his words were spoken, he began to do the exact same with the kunai in hand and around him. The instant that they were all thrown, Minato removed 2 ordinary kunai and wielded them backhanded. "They're wondering why we miss so badly, and so am I," Yoshino said as she took note of the confused looks on the charging rock shinobi's faces. "Don't blink, even for a second," Minato said as he undid his hip pouch carefully. A second later, Yoshino turned as she heard the hip pouch strike the ground. Minato was no longer there. Returning her attention to the charging ninja, Yoshino saw that half of the rock ninja were dead, and more joined them by the second as subtle flashes of yellow occurred throughout the mass of charging rock ninja. The display struck Yoshino speechless, along with every Chunin that had thrown the kunai. The battle between Minato and the army of rock ninja had lasted less than 15 seconds. At that moment, he was standing in the center of the field of corpses. His kunai were soaked with blood. He looked down and saw a single rock ninja that was struggling to move. "Let him flee." Minato's eyes widened considerably at Naruto's voice. It was unexpected to hear his best friend at that moment. He glanced over his shoulder and saw that he was not mistaken about who had spoken either. "Let him tell them why you should be feared," Naruto said as he stepped to Minato's right. "Let him tell them why any shinobi that they sent to attack us will die without effort." Minato simply nodded and turned his back to the fallen rock ninja. "The ground seemed to get bloody every time we fight," Naruto commented idly as he followed Minato, unconcerned about the only living rock ninja. And thus, the moniker of the Yellow Flash was bestowed upon Minato Namikaze and the moniker of the Wind God was bestowed upon Naruto Uzumaki. In the coming weeks and months, Naruto and Minato were officially made co-captains of the camp in the Land of Grass by order of Hiruzen Sarutobi. By the end of their deployment in the Land of Grass, they were revered as 2 of the most powerful shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village, behind the Hokage, Sakumo, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru. "Today, history will be written," Sakumo stated as he stood in the center of his tent with every Jonin under his command crowded in the structure. "We have obtained new information. The hidden villages of Sand, Rain, Rock, and Lightning have entered a temporary alliance, and they are bringing their forces here to attack us." Gasps of shock were heard around him, but he did not pause for long. It has been confirmed that the 3rd Tsukikage, the 3rd Reikage, the 4th Kazekage, and Hanzo of the Salamander are heading here with armies as we speak. It is estimated that they will here within the hour, Sakumo said as he looked at his subordinates around him. The information was received at the Hidden Leaf Village already. As such, my peers, Orochimaru and Jiraiya, are headed here as we speak. Hopefully, we will be able to hold out until they arrive. General Hatake, we have the Yellow Flash here. Surely we won't lose, one of the Jonin said. Minato looked surprised at that statement. He was still getting used to his newfound fame. "I'd agree with you if the Wind God was here," Sakumo said as he shook his head. "I do not know if we can succeed, even with everyone that is presently here, along with Jiraiya and Orochimaru." That bit of information was most alarming. Will Naruto be here? Minato asked. Sakumo looked at the blonde and shook his head. Naruto Uzumaki is the general in charge of our forces in the land of hot water. There's no way that he could make it here in time. Minato sighed at that statement. He had missed his friend, and he knew how handy Naruto would be in such a situation. He glanced at his girlfriend's best friend at that moment. It was no secret that after their deployment in the land of grass, Naruto and Mikoto had become involved in a romantic relationship, much to the ire of the Uchiha clan. His fame has prevented anyone from actually attempting to stop the relationship from progressing though. If Minato did not know any better, he would have thought that the Uchiha clan feared what Naruto would do if they had tried to stop their relationship. Sakumo's voice penetrated his thoughts, reminding him that they were in a meeting. This camp is obviously built in front of a cliff, in case none of you noticed. As such, they can't come at us from all sides. As a result of this, we will be marching towards them with our forces to prevent them from using Earth Jutsu to use the cliff as a weapon, Sakumo explained. Now, gather your forces and meet me at the front of the camp. We need to be prepared. After all, we are marching to face a force of approximately 4,000 foreign ninja. Those last words sent chills down all of their spines, well, most of them, at least. Danzo Shimura was obviously not spooked by it. The camp only consisted of 250 leaf shinobi. The prospect of them facing so many shinobi was most certainly alarming. An hour later, 250 leaf ninja were facing 4,000 enemy ninja with 500 yards between them. Sakumo Hatake, Danzo Shimura, Torifu Akimichi, Yagami Uchiha, Minato Namikaze, Inoichi Yamanoka, Shikaku Noro, and Choza Akimichi were standing at the front of the army of leaf shinobi. Hanzo of the Salamander stood at the forefront of the Rain army atop Ibuse, his primary summon. A man with red and green eyes stood off to the side of him. Raikuro the third Raikage stood at the forefront of the Cloud army. Onoki of both scales, Roshi of the Lava style, and Han of the Steam stood at the forefront of the Rock army. Tetsukaze of the fourth Kazekage stood at the forefront of the Sand army, alongside Chiyo and Ibizo, the honored siblings. The situation was clearly tense, as was seen when the three attacking Kage and the village leader exchanged looks. With a single hand motion from each commander, the armies of foreign began their charge. The aforementioned commanders and the other famous shinobi did not move at all though. Remember the plan, Sakumo said evenly. Even he was nervous at the sight before him. He would not have been as nervous if he had understood the power that Minato Namikaze wielded. The leaf ninja quickly began to throw ordinary-looking kunai at the charging enemy ninja. The attacking ninja thought that it was just bad aim, much like the rock ninja had thought nearly a year ago when they attacked Naruto and Minato's forces. Don't hold back on your jutsu, Danzo said evenly as he glanced at the various shinobi behind him. Sarutabi has informed me that young Namikaze is quite efficient at evasion. Minato rolled his eyes at the comment, but he was prepared. After all, he had applied seals to every kunai that his comrades had thrown. As they charging armies crossed the line of kunai, Minato disappeared. Yellow flashes streaked through the armies of attacking ninja as the leaf ninja began to launch jutsu of every element off like they were shuriken. The only leaf ninja that were not using jutsu in the assault were the ones that stood at the forefront of their army. After all, they knew that the armies were not the problem. The purpose of the armies was to cancel themselves out. It took 2 minutes for the nearly 4,000 attacking shinobi to die. Coincidentally, that was about the same time when over 200 of the leaf ninja completely ran out of chakra. They sent Jonin and Chunin to attack us, didn't they? Sakumo asked in a low voice. Rather than verbalize an answer, Danzo nodded his head. The look in his eyes said that even he disagreed with such an act. They are sending out their Jinchuriki, Sakumo said as he narrowed his eyes. Han and Roshi had just been sent forward. I believe that Kushina Uzumaki and Mikoto Uchiha can handle them, Danzo said with a nod. Nodding in agreement with the elder shinobi, Sakumo motioned for them to go forward. Immediately, Kushina entered her initial Jinchuriki form and dashed forward with Mikoto following closely after her. Minato reappeared next to Sakumo at that exact moment. Minato, run to the camp and find some appropriate containers, Sakumo said with a sidelong glance. We're going to need to seal away the four-tailed and five-tailed beasts. Minato disappeared immediately after those words were spoken. His relationship to Jiraiya and Kushina made him know exactly what was required for such a task. How in the hell did that happen? Inoichi asked under his breath. Sakumo turned his attention to the battle. Han was unconscious 20 yards away with Mikoto standing over him, and Kushina was easily dodging lobs of lava. The Sharingan must be useful, Sakumo commented dryly. Danzo just smirked. He loved when his plans were successful. It took roughly 30 seconds for Kushina to incapacitate Roshi with a seal and toss him next to Han. She appeared to be a little tired though. Minato reappeared moments later with 2 rather large, stone jars. Minato, take them away from here, kill them, and seal the tailed beasts away. You'll have Kushina and Mikoto to help, Sakumo quickly said. Nodding, Minato laid hands on Roshi and Han. Mikoto and Kushina immediately laid hands on him, and they all teleported to the top of the cliff that overlooked the battlefield. They did not notice Onoki's eyes watching them as they reappeared on the top of the cliff. Today, history will be written, Sakumo stated as he stood in the center of his tent with every Jonin under his command crowded in the structure. We have obtained new information. The hidden villages of Sand, Rain, Rock, and Lightning have entered a temporary alliance, and they are bringing their forces here to attack us. Gasps of shock were heard around him, but he did not pause for long. It has been confirmed that the 3rd Tsukikage, the 3rd Reikage, the 4th Kazekage, and Hanzo of the Salamander are heading here with armies as we speak. It is estimated that they will here within the hour, Sakumo said as he looked at his subordinates around him. The information was received at the Hidden Leaf Village already. As such, my peers, Orochimaru and Jiraiya, are headed here as we speak. Hopefully, we will be able to hold out until they arrive. General Hatake, we have the yellow flash here. Surely we won't lose, one of the Jonin said. Minato looked surprised at that statement. He was still getting used to his newfound fame. I'd agree with you if the wind god was here, Sakumo said as he shook his head. I do not know if we can succeed, even with everyone that is presently here, along with Jiraiya and Orochimaru. That bit of information was most alarming. Will Naruto be here? Minato asked. Sakumo looked at the blonde and shook his head. Naruto Uzumaki is the general in charge of our forces in the land of hot water. There's no way that he could make it here in time. Minato sighed at that statement. He had missed his friend, and he knew how handy Naruto would be in such a situation. He glanced at his girlfriend's best friend at that moment. It was no secret that after their deployment in the Land of Grass, Naruto and Mikoto had become involved in a romantic relationship, much to the ire of the Uchiha clan. His fame has prevented anyone from actually attempting to stop the relationship from progressing though. If Minato did not know any better, he would have thought that the Uchiha clan feared what Naruto would do if they had tried to stop their relationship. Sakumo's voice penetrated his thoughts, reminding him that they were in a meeting. This camp is obviously built in front of a cliff, in case none of you noticed. As such, they can't come at us from all sides. As a result of this, we will be marching towards them with our forces to prevent them from using Earth Jutsu to use the cliff as a weapon, Sakumo explained. Now, gather your forces and meet me at the front of the camp. We need to be prepared. After all, we are marching to face a force of approximately 4,000 foreign ninja. Those last words sent chills down all of their spines, well, most of them, at least. Danzo Shimura was obviously not spooked by it. The camp only consisted of 250 Leaf Shinobi. The prospect of them facing so many shinobi was most certainly alarming. An hour later, 250 Leaf Ninja were facing 4,000 enemy ninja with 500 yards between them. Sakumo Hatake, Danzo Shimura, Torifu Akimichi, Yagami Uchiha, Minato Namikaze, Inoichi Yamanoka, Shikaku Noro, and Choza Akimichi were standing at the front of the army of Leaf Shinobi. Hanzo of the Salamander stood at the forefront of the Rain army atop Ibuse, his primary summon. A man with red and green eyes stood off to the side of him. Raikuro the 3rd Reikage stood at the forefront of the Cloud army. Onoki of both scales, Roshi of the Lava style, and Han of the Steam stood at the forefront of the Rock army. Tetsukaze of the 4th Kazekage stood at the forefront of the Sand army, alongside Chiyo and Ibizo, the honored siblings. The situation was clearly tense, as was seen when the 3 attacking Kage and the village leader exchanged looks. With a single hand motion from each commander, the armies of foreign began their charge. The aforementioned commanders and the other famous shinobi did not move at all though. Remember the plan, Sakumo said evenly. Even he was nervous at the sight before him. He would not have been as nervous if he had understood the power that Minato Namikaze wielded. The Leaf Ninja quickly began to throw ordinary-looking kunai at the charging enemy ninja. The attacking ninja thought that it was just bad aim, much like the Rock Ninja had thought nearly a year ago when they attacked Naruto and Minato's forces. Don't hold back on your jutsu, Danzo said evenly as he glanced at the various shinobi behind him. Sarutobi has informed me that young Namikaze is quite efficient at evasion. Minato rolled his eyes at the comment, but he was prepared. After all, he had applied seals to every kunai that his comrades had thrown. As they charging armies crossed the line of kunai, Minato disappeared. Yellow flashes streaked through the armies of attacking ninja as the leaf ninja began to launch jutsu of every element off like they were shuriken. The only leaf ninja that were not using jutsu in the assault were the ones that stood at the forefront of their army. After all, they knew that the armies were not the problem. The purpose of the armies was to cancel themselves out. It took 2 minutes for the nearly 4,000 attacking shinobi to die. Coincidentally, that was about the same time when over 200 of the leaf ninja completely ran out of chakra. They sent Jonin and Chunin to attack us, didn't they? Sakumo asked in a low voice. Rather than verbalize an answer, Danzo nodded his head. The look in his eyes said that even he disagreed with such an act. They are sending out their Jinchuriki, Sakumo said as he narrowed his eyes. Han and Roshi had just been sent forward. I believe that Kushina Uzumaki and Mikoto Uchiha can handle them, Danzo said with a nod. Nodding in agreement with the elder shinobi, Sakumo motioned for them to go forward. Immediately, Kushina entered her initial Jinchuriki form and dashed forward with Mikoto following closely after her. Minato reappeared next to Sakumo at that exact moment. Minato, run to the camp and find some appropriate containers, Sakumo said with a sidelong glance. We're going to need to seal away the 4-tailed and 5-tailed beasts. Minato disappeared immediately after those words were spoken. His relationship to Jiraiya and Kushina made him know exactly what was required for such a task. How in the hell did that happen? Inoichi asked under his breath. Sakumo turned his attention to the battle. Han was unconscious 20 yards away with Mikoto standing over him, and Kushina was easily dodging lobs of lava. The Sharingan must be useful, Sakumo commented dryly. Danzo just smirked. He loved when his plans were successful. It took roughly 30 seconds for Kushina to incapacitate Roshi with a seal and toss him next to Han. She appeared to be a little tired though. Minato reappeared moments later with 2 rather large, stone jars. Minato, take them away from here, kill them, and seal the tailed beasts away. You'll have Kushina and Mikoto to help, Sakumo quickly said. Nodding, Minato laid hands on Roshi and Han. Mikoto and Kushina immediately laid hands on him, and they all teleported to the top of the cliff that overlooked the battlefield. They did not notice Onoki's eyes watching them as they reappeared on the top of the cliff. Those are the 10 puppets of Monzemon Chikamatsu, aren't they? Sakumo asked as 10 unusual puppets danced in front of Chiyo of the hidden sand village. Her brother, Ibizo, held a katana in his hands firmly. Without answering, Chiyo sent the 10 puppets toward Sakumo with all of her speed, but Chiyo was no match for the White Fang. Open shock was visible on Chiyo's face as 5 of her 10 puppets were destroyed within moments. You have guts, Sakumo said as he quickly sidestepped out of Ibizo's range as the older man tried to attack him from behind. Few would challenge me in Kenjutsu. With that, he decapitated Ibizo with a single stroke. Filled with fury, Chiyo charged at Sakumo. She had just seen her brother die, after all. She died just as easily as her brother did. With the honored siblings dead, he glanced back to Orochimaru, Danzo, Torifu, and Yagami. With a hand motion, he got them to appear at his side. It's time to fight Hanzo, Sakumo said. He then noticed something strange. Where's the Tsukikage? His comrades became aware that only the Kazekage, the Reikage, and Hanzo were standing in their positions. Shaking his head, Sakumo said, keep an eye out for him and the other 2 Kage. Am I interrupting something? Onoki asked with his arms crossed. Minato looked at the Tsukikage and cursed. They had only had time to seal away the 4-tailed monkey thus far. I will have your head, Yellow Flash, Onoki stated. I don't give a damn about your 2 companions. Then fight each other, Jiraiya said as he appeared on the cliff. Minato, I'll supervise the sealing. Teach the old fart what you can do. With a nod, Minato used the body flicker technique to appear in front of Onoki and throw him off the cliff, after which he teleported to the ground below with the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. One might think that watching 2 legends like Minato Namikaze and Onoki fight would be entertaining and fun. It was not. Onoki kept trying to capture Minato in the barrier that was formed around his dust-style techniques while Minato simply teleported outside of their range. It was a game of cat and mouse, really. The fight finally reached a conclusion though. I destroyed all of your special kunai. You can't escape now, Onoki said as he used his technique once again. He knew that he could follow Minato with the technique, so simple speed would do nothing against it. You were a worthy opponent. As were you, Minato said as Onoki started to activate his technique. Goodbye. The cube of Onoki's dust-style technique suddenly teleported to surround Onoki as it activated. Moments later, it disappeared, revealing that Onoki was no longer in the world of the living. Minato dropped to his knees, panting in exhaustion. Using the seal that he had placed on Onoki when he threw him off the cliff to teleport the jutsu had been difficult. A small smile formed on the Yellow Flash's face as he thought about the fact that Onoki had essentially killed himself. Dynamic-Ace! Tetsuke said as he appeared behind Minato and brought his kunai down towards the blonde skull. The kunai never made its mark, but Tetsuke's was suddenly hit by a chakra-covered fist that resembled the butterfly bullet bombing technique of the Akimichi clan. As the Kage flew and hit the ground, rolling, everyone looked to see who had acted. Standing a foot from where Tetsuke's had originally been standing was the last person they had ever expected. Clad in the standard attire of a leaf shinobi with a flak jacket on was Naruto Uzumaki, known as the Hidden Leaf's Wind God. What in the hell was that jutsu? Minato asked hoarsely. Naruto smiled at his friend's question. That's my chakra hammer, it's based off of the Akimichi clan's butterfly bullet bombing. It contained 5% of my chakra. Minato nodded for a moment. How in the hell are you here? You're supposed to be in the land of hot water. I'm fast, Naruto said as he began to approach the downed Tetsuke's. He saw Raikuro appear next to the Kage halfway there. Greetings, Lord Raikage. Lord Kage, Naruto said with a slight inclination of his head. Honored Raikage, I regret to inform you that your eldest son is the only survivor of the forces you sent to attack my camp. Raikuro's eyes widened at that proclamation. I left him unharmed, though his ego has suffered greatly. I killed the 1,000 men that you put under his command by myself, Naruto said with a light smile. My name is General Naruto Uzumaki, renowned as the Wind God, and I'm going to kill you both today. Die! Raikuro said as he was covered in black lightning and attempted a frontal attack on Naruto. The blonde's eyes suddenly shifted as he entered Sage mode and held out his left hand. A blue orb formed in it instantly. It then took on a white shuriken-like form. It shifted from Rasengan to Wind-style Rasengan and then to the Rasen Shuriken within a matter of seconds. As Raikuro struck the Rasen Shuriken with his black lightning-charged fist, he was consumed by a massive orb of wind chakra. That was a close one, Naruto said as he appeared at Minato's side immediately. What in the hell? Minato mumbled. That's my most powerful jutsu, Naruto said with a smile. The third Raikage is dead. His smile disappeared as he saw Tetsuke's rise to his feet. I'm sorry, Gaara, he whispered under his breath as he raised his other hand to the air. A second Rasen Shuriken formed in it, and he threw it straight at the man that would have been Gaara's father in another few years. With one fell swoop, Naruto had killed the Raikage and the Kage, and he did not even appear to be winded. As he exited Sage mode, he saw that the battle between Hanzo and the Leaf Ninja that had engaged him was over with. Hanzo of the Salamander was dead. He then glanced over his shoulder and saw Jiraiya, Kushina, and Mikoto walking towards them with 2 large jars in their hands. The Third Shinobi World War is over, Sakumo said as he looked around them at the carnage of the battle. That's correct, Danzo said as he looked at Naruto with an impressed eye. You'll have to tell me how you killed 2 Kage with such little effort. Naruto simply shrugged as he turned his eyes towards his girlfriend once again. You'd be surprised to hear what all I can do with just a little effort. At the age of 25, Naruto Uzumaki was walking down the street, headed home to his wife, Mikoto Uzumaki. He smiled at the thought of her. He still thought there was a bit of irony to the fact that he had fallen in love with and married his best friend's mother, but he normally kept thoughts of his original timeline separated from his normal thoughts. Thinking about his wife made him thankful for the fact that he was one of the 3 most famous shinobi in the elemental nations and the present Jonin commander. It was those facts that had allowed him to marry an uchiha and have her change her surname to his without a single complaint from that noble clan. I wonder what Dad's doing, Naruto thought as the image of Minato Namikaze, the Yellow Flash and the 4th Hokage flashed through his mind. That thought became more prevalent as a massive chakra appeared out of nowhere. What in the hell is that? Naruto asked, feeling the Ninetales chakra suddenly appear in a massive quantity. It was at that moment that he realized something that terrified him. It was currently the 10th of October. Naruto immediately created a shadow clone and sent it after Sarutobi before he entered Sage Mode. As soon as he entered Sage Mode, he detected Minato, Kushina, the Ninetales, and Madara Uchiha. I better not be late, Naruto thought as he began to move forward as fast as he could. The fact that he had been so blindsided had him completely worried and scared. He should have been planning for that day, after all. Minato was breathing heavily as he jumped back from his opponent, who he believed to be Madara Uchiha. The man was certainly skilled and had an impressive space-time ninjutsu. There was no way for him to disable that space-time ninjutsu and defeat Madara on his own, unfortunately. A small smirk formed on Minato's face as he sensed his best friend. Suddenly, a barrage of kunai flew at Madara. The ancient Uchiha tried to use his space-time ninjutsu to make them pass through him harmlessly, but they all struck him as they would strike any other person. "Why can't I teleport?" Madara muttered as he felt the kunai strike him. "You're in a barrier that completely restricts space-time ninjutsu," Minato said with a small laugh as he pointed to the ground at the black marks on it. "It's too late to do anything about it though." With that, Madara was hit by a Rasen Shuriken. "I've been waiting to do that for nearly a decade now," Naruto muttered under his breath as he jumped down to the ground from the tree that he had been standing in. "Naruto, we need to confront the Ninetales now," Minato said as he caught his breath. "Let's go then," Naruto said. With that, Minato grabbed Naruto and teleported them both to the former safe house where Kushina and the unnamed baby were resting. As soon as they arrived, Minato had Naruto stay with them while he teleported the Ninetales there. Naruto, realizing what was going to happen as soon as Minato reappeared with the Ninetales, could not help but feel fear fill him. That was when something unexpected happened. Shock crept over Naruto as he found himself standing in the sewers that made up his mindscape. It had been 9 years since he was last there. "You've grown." Naruto turned around to find the source of that voice and felt his throat tighten as he saw Itachi Uchiha standing in his mindscape. "What's going on?" Naruto asked in shock. "You were dead. When I bestowed my power upon you all those years ago, I placed an imprint of my mind within you," Itachi said as he allowed a small smile to grace his lips. "It was my power that conflicted with your Sage Mode and Madara's teleportation jutsu and sent you back in time. It is also by my power that I offer you a way to bring about the Ninetales' defeat." "I'm listening," Naruto said with narrowed eyes. "The power that I gave you has changed you in many ways. It also seems to have forced my personality to rub off on your own to a small degree. But more importantly, the power that I gave you has allowed me to temporarily take control of your body if you allow it," Itachi said as he looked into Naruto's eyes. "If you allow it, I can use my Mangekyo Sharingan through you. With it, I can activate Susanoo and use the sword of Totsuka to seal away half of the Ninetales for all eternity." "What will it cost me?" Naruto asked immediately. "You will lose the light of your world," Itachi said with a sad smile. "Being a non-Uchiha, this single use will permanently blind you. That's not that big of a deal for you though. After all, eyes can be transplanted." "I accept," Naruto said. The next thing Naruto was aware of, his eyesight was mostly faded, and a much smaller nine-tailed demon fox was standing before him. "You will pass out soon, and your eyesight will fade completely when you do," Itachi explained. "Tell them what you wish to." "That was amazing," Minato said astounded. "What do you expect from your son?" Naruto asked with a chuckle. He had a feeling that he needed to reveal the truth to them, much as he did to Mikoto a month before he proposed to her. "This is going to sound insane, but I'm your son from the future." With that, Naruto began to tell them the truth about them. He finished the tale seconds before he passed out, but he passed out before he could hear their responses. Naruto slowly opened his eyes to a white room. "Wait. I should be blind," Naruto thought as he slowly sat up. He could still see everything perfectly clear though. It made absolutely no sense to him. "Naruto, you're awake!" Mikoto exclaimed as she looked through the door. She ran up to him and wrapped her arms around him in a tight hug. Over her shoulder, Naruto could see Kushina Uzumaki walk in. She appeared to be grieving, though Naruto did not understand why. "What happened?" Naruto asked softly. "Minato summoned the death god and sealed the other half of the Ninetales away," Kushina whispered. "He requested that you be given his eyes." Naruto felt his jaw drop at those words. He could not believe what she was saying. He had used Susanoo to seal away half of the Nine-Tails chakra so that it would not be necessary for his father to give his life again. Minato loved you, Naruto. He loved you like a brother. The prospect of you being his son, well, it made him truly happy. He said that any man would be proud to have a son like you, Kushina said sadly as she walked up next to him. I am proud that you were my son in another time too, so I can understand his decision to return the light to your world and free the world of the Nine-Tails in its entirety. I am sad to see him go, but I do understand his reasons. I see? Naruto said, trailing off as he looked out the window. Did he say anything else? He said that he wanted you to reconsider the offer that you rejected, whatever that means, Kushina answered. She sounded curious as she spoke those last words. Please find the third Hokage and tell him that I've reconsidered, Naruto said as he took a deep breath and stood up from the bed with Mikoto's help. Tell him that I'm willing to be named as the fifth Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village like he asked me to when the war ended. It was clear that his word shocked Kushina and Mikoto. Neither of them knew of the offer. I was offered the position of fourth Hokage before Minato was, but I turned it down. I was never meant to be the fourth Hokage, Naruto said with a heavy sigh. I know what I am supposed to do now though. It is my destiny to be named as the fifth Hokage, and so I shall be. At the time, Naruto had no idea how true his words were. Later that day, Naruto Uzumaki was named as the fifth Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village. Following his succession as the fifth Hokage, Naruto Uzumaki named Sakumo Hatake as the new Jonin commander. Despite not being trusted fully in his early years as a Leaf Shinobi in the Third Shinobi World War, Naruto was soon revered as great of a Hokage as Hiruzen Tsurutobi was, though he eventually managed to surpass the god of Shinobi in that aspect. This was largely a result of the Hidden Leaf Village staying at peace for the entire span of 4 decades that Naruto held the position of Hokage. The only villages that could have stood a chance at lasting more than a short while against the Leaf Village under Naruto's control were the Hidden Cloud Village and the Hidden Mist Village, but neither of those villages were too eager to face off against a man that killed 2 Kage in a single battle and was largely responsible for the death of the strongest of the 9-tailed beasts. Within 5 years of obtaining the position of Hokage, the Hidden Leaf Village had come to be in possession of the 1-tailed beast and the 7-tailed beast through alliances, leaving the Hidden Cloud Village and the Hidden Mist Village as the only foreign shinobi with tailed beasts. Within a decade of becoming Hokage, Naruto accomplished the closest thing to world peace that anyone had ever imagined in his world. The Hidden Leaf Village had become so powerful that it could quell any conflict in the elemental nations almost instantaneously. Through him, the first Hokage's dream of peace had been accomplished, and it had been managed alongside the Uchiha clan, which had been content to be bonded to the greatest Hokage in history just as much as the Senju clan was. Naruto and Mikoto Uzumaki both lived long lives and had 2 children, both boys. The first was obviously Sasuke Uzumaki, and the second was born 6 years after the Nine-Tails attack. His name was Minato Uzumaki, named after the fallen 4th Hokage and friend of both parents. Kushina Uzumaki never remarried, though she did move in with her son from the future and his wife. Her only child was the boy that Minato had named upon his dying breaths, Gaara Namikaze. Though they were different in that time period, Ino Yamanoka, Shikamaru Noro, Choji Akimichi, Shino Aburame, Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, and Neji Hyuga were all born, along with Rock Lee and Ten. Hana Inuzuka, on the other hand, was never born for reasons that Naruto had never considered. It always brought a smile to Naruto's face when he saw the members of the Leaf Ninja 11 and saw that they were mostly the same as from his time. Naturally there were differences, but there were more similarities than anything. The ever-present smile was last seen on his face on his deathbed. Mikoto followed soon after. Naruto Uzumaki was 97 years old. Mikoto Uzumaki, formerly Uchiha, was 100 years old. He survived 15 years after passing on the title of 6th Hokage to the child of Asuma Sarutobi and Kurenai Yuhi. That is it. It's a short story, I guess, but an amazing completed one. Comment Dango to let me know you have completed this video and would like ones like this in the future. Bye for now.